And we are back for another outstanding episode of Square Table Degenerates. Today we welcome former Tri pitcher and current Lansing Lugnuts manager, Mr. Dave Burba, to the show. How are you today, sir?
Good. I'm the pitching coach, not the manager.
Oh, pitching coach. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, my friend.
I live with the manager. If he heard you say that, I'd be in trouble.
It's like back in the Army. Who's in charge? Yeah, the guy with the clipboard, probably, right?
The manager, he's the skipper. He's the one.
Who? Out of curiosity, who is the manager of the Lansing Lugnuts?
Daryl Kennedy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. What? So you're Ohio-born, Ohio-bred, just like the Wright brothers and myself. Back in the day, you were growing up in the 1970s. The Pete Rose, the Reds, and Joe Morgan, and Johnny Bench era. Let's start with the hot one. What's your take on the recent ruling with Rob Manfred allowing Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe back into they say after you die you can be reinstated now. Is this kind of inevitable? What's your take on this?
Well, I'm glad that he's finally going to get in. Of course, it would have been nice that if he was alive and could have enjoyed it, the experience, but just as long as he gets in, I think that's important because what he did on the baseball field is certainly outstanding, and he's Charlie Hustle. You got to put him in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah. Isn't it kind of funny how integrated gambling is today with some of these sports and baseball? How they back then. I mean, it's just. They still suspend. I mean, back then it was almost people almost treat it like just like the cardinal sin, like the original sin here with Pete Rose. And it's like it just makes me laugh.
We're not allowed to gamble on baseball. It's not allowed, so that's what happened, unfortunately. And even though he wasn't betting, like he says, I wasn't betting against my team. It doesn't matter. That's the rules, and he got caught. But I don't think it should have been a lifetime ban. Maybe at some point say, okay, enough's enough. Let's put the man in the Hall of Fame.
For sure. On that same line, man, what do you think about the steroid stuff? I mean, you're kind of right in the middle of that era. Is it
smack dab in it?
Is there some kind of formula eventually where we just figure it out, or they just kind of say? I don't want to. Hopefully they don't. After these guys die, and hopefully it's not the same standard. I mean. There's got to be some kind of middle ground, right? I mean, guys like Clemens and Bonds and them guys are great regardless. I mean, did they use steroids to make a little bit of sure? Do we know exactly what it is? But I mean, eventually they got to let these guys in, no?
I would say I don't have anything against it. I think what they did on the baseball field, like I said, just like Pete and everybody else, they deserve to be there. The talent is there. You just don't use steroids and all of a sudden hit 500 home runs. It just doesn't work that way.
100%. All right. So you go to Ohio State in the 80s, and I heard some, great stories about Ohio State from my guard buddies. I was in the air guard, and I came in the air guard in the 90s. So a lot of these guys went to college in the 80s in Ohio State. Is it the Earl Bruce era? For those Buckeye football fans listening at home, now, compare and contrast to Animal House. Is it really that legendary? I mean, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. I don't want to incriminate yourself, but I mean, these parties is this Animal House level? I mean, was every night just rocking? I mean,
it's you're in school, you pick and choose. There was. Never in the dorms, really. I never had any parties in the dorms. And once you get out of the dorms and you live in your own apartment, but no, it was nothing like Animal House.
Now, did you?
At least I don't remember anything.
What were some of your? I know this is random, but what were some of your favorite college beers back then? I remember. I went to college a little later. I went to Kent, but I drank a lot of Natty Light, and it's weird because I can't fuck with Natty Light now. I cannot drink Natty Light at all.
Motor oil's motor oil, they say, right? But I think we drink a lot of Bud Light, buckets of beer at Papa Joe's. You go to Papa Joe's, pay $5, get a bucket of beer, and of course everybody's dipping their cup with their dirty hands in. It's kind of nasty, but it was certainly fun at the time.
Oh, buckets, man. I miss buckets. I haven't had a bucket in a while.
Yeah, there wasn't any cut. You know, the Natty Lice was the cheapest beer, but whew, that was a tough one. You're right.
Were you I mean, how involved with campus life were you? Did you get involved in the football scene? I mean, you played a lot of the sports. Did you get to know some of the other, what was like?
Absolutely. We all lived in Smith dorm, and then there was, there are athletes everywhere, but football team, basketball team, baseball team, wrestlers, everybody lived in Smith dorm, and you get to know everybody, and met quite a few people, and still friends these days.
Okay. Now, when you're down there at Columbus, you pretty much knew you were going to get drafted at some point. At what point did you know that you were? Did you have a feeling you're kind of going a little higher? Or what was your gut there? I mean, did you at some point did people just start recruiting you a lot more? You just kind of noticed it, or did they come and tell you? How did it work back then?
Well, I went to I'll say my sophomore year. After my sophomore season, I went to a summer league in the Valley League in Virginia, and I did well down there. And I started noticing that when I was pitching, more people were showing up with guns and stuff. And then my junior year, I'd go whenever I pitched, thered be 10, 12. Next thing you know, there's 20, 25 scouts behind the fence watching the game. That's when you kind of know something good's going to happen.
Now how many pitches did you have back then in college?
Basically, a fastball and a curveball.
Okay, what was your fastball at?
I started my freshman year. I was 84, maybe 85.
Okay.
My sophomore year, I think I got up 86 to 87, and then my junior year was 88 to 90.
Okay. What was your peak over your major league, like your whole baseball career? What was the highest you averaged or through?
The highest average or highest pitch?
I maybe both, pretty much.
Well, the highest pitch was 97. My dad told me I was with the Giants in relief, and after the game, he said, "Hey, you threw 97." And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Yeah, back-to-back times." I'm like, "Well, hell yeah." Right? But as a starter, I was 89 to 93 in that range, and in the bullpen, I was 92 to 95.
Okay, so you're throwing faster, just in nature in the bullpen. You're throwing faster just because you're out there for shorter periods. Is that what I'm assuming then?
Right. You're not throwing every day, or you're not throwing 100 pitches. You go out there, you throw 10 or 15. You got a little more juice. I'll say. Let's put it that way. You're strong, but the day after, if you pitch back-to-back days, the day after your arm's not as strong, and then your stuff's not as good. But that's just how it works. When you get a little rest, you can come out and it seems like you can throw harder.
Okay. We got a question from Lady C. She says, when Dave played for the Reds, did he hear about a player back in the day named Ronnie Partridge? That was my stepdad.
Say his name again.
Ronnie Partridge.
Ronnie Partridge. I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah, I've never heard the name myself, but cool. All right, so you're getting drafted, man. You get the same draft as Griffey. You guys are both from this area. I mean, he's down in down in Cincinnati.
Right, and I'm from Springfield. It's about an hour and 15 minutes away.
Prior to, I'm up in Cleveland, in North Olmsted, suburb of Cleveland. But did you, prior to this, was there? I mean, because I'm equating it to LeBron. I'm just kind of, for the people at home, they can kind of gauge how it was. I mean, there was a lot of hype around Griffey, but I didn't really hear about Griffey until like that '89 Upper Deck card when he started coming out. Because I mean, back in '87, I hear nothing. Back in this whole different time, they didn't really publicize the draft. But prior to that draft, did you hear anything about Mr. Griffey? What was the deal there?
There's rumors that he would probably go number one. I didn't get to see or just hearsay. And he did. He was a credible athlete. He was drafted number one. I was drafted second. Got to rookie ball, and here's this 17-year-old kid. I'm like, Oh boy, here we go. We got a 17-year-old, and this dude had more talent falling out of his pockets than we could ever dream of having. I mean, it was incredible. You could already see this he's 17. He's a man amongst boys already ahead of the game. It was an eye opener for me. I'm like, man, are all these guys going to be like this? But yeah, he was fun to watch. I got to play with him in the big leagues too. I got to be in a game where his dad and he hit back-to-back home runs. That was quite the thrill. Quite the experience to be a part of that. It's history.
Yeah, aside from the Griffey stuff, what is the MLB draft like? I mean, this is obviously 30 some years ago, but I mean, is it? You get a bunch of workouts the one day? Did you guys have Ohio State have a pro day, or did just?
No, they scouted you after the baseball season. I wanted to stay in shape because I knew that there would be a possibility I'd get drafted. I played in a summer league or a men's league. And of course, scouts would come and watch. They'd call me and say, "Hey, are you still pitching? Can we come watch you?" And I'm like, "Sure." So they did. The story of Griffey being number one draft pick, I was talking to the Cardinals. They were talking about taking me in the first round. And kept waiting for the phone call. And now I'm starting to get nervous because it's 7:00 at night. And finally I get a phone call and says, "Hey, this is so-and-so with Seattle Mariners." I'm like, "Pardon me?" He says, "Yeah, Tom Mooney with Seattle Mariners, Dave. We drafted you in the second round." I'm like, "Oh." I said, "Well, it's 7:00 at night." He goes, "Yeah, we had to work some stuff out with Griffey." So that's how my draft experience went.
Did you have a preference? I mean, at that point, were you just kind of like wherever it goes, it goes? I mean, I know if I'm sitting there looking at a list of cities, I'm like, maybe here, maybe there.
Yeah, I was green through the whole process. Just a dude from Springfield, Ohio, came into Ohio State, trying to, I didn't go to Ohio State thinking I was going to be a big league pitcher. I went to Ohio State to be a pitcher and get an education, and knew that if I kept working hard, there might be a possibility. And thank the Lord, it worked out.
Yeah, and you're right in the middle of you're playing baseball right in the middle of not only the steroids, but the baseball card boom. I mean, you grew up there so good, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, right there at the beginning, there was like, I don't know how many companies. It was crazy.
Oh yeah, Topps, Panini, Donruss, Fleer, all that. I mean, I collected so many. I was just at the thing the other day, and I'm buying these old Brooke Jacoby autograph cards because I'm a stupid baby boomer or Gen X, whatever the fuck we are. But baby. That's how old I am. I'm not even a baby boomer, and I'm calling myself a baby boomer already. It's ridiculous. Yeah, but do you have what's your memorabilia collection like? Do you have a lot of personal stuff? You got like a lot of? Did you trade some stuff? You got your piece du jour kind of thing? What's the deal there?
I got some jerseys from players. I got some autographed bats, team autographed bats, balls. Whenever like a Mickey Mantle or somebody's in the stadium, you try to get an autograph from that guy, of course. So yeah, I got quite a few items that I've collected over the years and proud of it. Pretty neat that some of the teams there's Hall of Famers already, and it's awesome.
That's crazy, man, right? I think there's Hall of Famers already. It makes us feel, still feels like the 90s was just like 7 years ago, and it was like...
It feels like I pitched yesterday, but... Well, that's just because my body's sore and everything. I'm just joking. It seems like yesterday, but then I'm like, I'm going to be 59 here in a minute.
Man, it does fly. So, think about when time does fly. When you first get called up to the Mariners, what are your initial thoughts of this gigantic kingdom? I got a kingdom story for you before we get onto this. You were at this game. You were at this game, dude. And I got to go find this game. Back on like YouTube, but it's got to be somewhere. But it was back in 1998. I was at McCord Air Force Base. It was for the Guard. I was 21 at the time, and you had just gotten traded to the Tribe, and you guys were playing the Mariners out in the Kingdome. And I was out. I was drunk. I was fucking lit. Like I drank a 12-pack before I even got to the stadium. I was double fisting beers before even the first inning. I must have had 16, 17 beers before the second or third inning. And the whole time I was in the left field, going, Griffey, drunk as fuck. Just, I was acting an idiot, bro. And the only thing I remember is, I remember bits and pieces here and there, but like, only thing I remember about the game was that Griffey went 0 for 4, and I think we ended up winning. This is probably about April of 98 was at the Kingdom. But the Kingdom to me just strikes as just giant. It's kind of like a Cleveland Stadium with the roof, a little bit of tweaks. What was your take when you first step out into that big old Kingdom out there?
Well, first take was I got to pitch there as a rookie. We played the Baby M's, we were called, played the Everett Giants in the stadium. So I got to experience it. That was 1987. And then in 1990, I got called up, and you're like, you look around like, man, this is a whole different world right now. There's tons of people here. I'm sitting in the bullpen, and they're right behind me, and I'm like, here we go. Here we go. I'm here for a reason. Don't shit the bed.
So what was your first outing? What was the result? I didn't get a chance.
It wasn't good. It was not good. I was in Boston. I had to step off twice. My legs were shaking like a weak limb on a tree in a windy day. I stepped off. I'm like, holy cow, I can't even stand here. I stepped off again, and finally I got in there, and I'm like, okay, here we go. And I threw the pitch, and after that, it was over with. I didn't pitch very well, though.
Okay, so you're in the Mariners, and you had Griffey on that team. Was A-Rod there yet, or was that still Felix Vermeer? Who was?
I never played with A-Rod on the Mariners.
Okay.
Yeah, I got traded to the Giants, and he probably showed up maybe 95, 6?
Yeah, it had been 96, I think. 96.
Maybe 7.
Yeah. Okay.
I did play with A-Rod and with the Rangers in 02.
Okay. So going back to 98, I mean, what is the vibe in your head in 98? You're going to, that's the same time literally about the same trip as that Kingdom thing I just told you about. You're going from being the opening day starter with the Reds, right? You're about to start the opening day. And then they call you up, they fax you. What do they do back then? They say you're going to Cleveland, baby, rock and roll tribe. What's the deal here? What's going on, man?
Well, okay, so I'm the opening day starter, all excited. I get to throw the very first pitch of the 1998 season. Very first pitch. Cool, right? I want that game ball. I threw the very first pitch to start the 98 season. And so we have a practice Sunday or whatever, I think it was Sunday, started Monday, whatever it was. And, taking BP about 3:30, and they're like, hey, Burb, you're good if you want to go in the clubhouse. So I went in, and as soon as I got in there, and Bernie Stowe's like, hey, Burb, Jim wants to see you. I'm like, okay. I thought it was going to be something about opening day. There's going to be, it might take a few extra minutes, so don't make sure you're not ready too soon, and then you have to wait type thing. And I walked in, and Bowden says, hey, good news and bad news. We traded you to Cleveland. We got Sean Casey. Isn't that great news? And I'm like, it is great news. I'm going to a really good team. But he tried to make it like, I don't know. I didn't appreciate how it went, but he could have just said, hey, we had to make a move. We traded you to Cleveland. Best of luck. But no, he handled it way differently, but all good.
No, it's I'm trying to, you racked my brain about talking about the Reds right there. Was Marge Schott still around then, or was?
Oh yeah, Marge. She was a nice lady. Did things a little differently, I'll say, but never disrespected me. But I didn't have a problem with her.
Those Bengals, them Cincinnati clubs had some eccentric and wild and legendarily cheap owners, right? I mean, that's
yeah.
My goodness.
There's stories that are crazy, but I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me. Like for Christmas presents, she gave them leftover giveaways from the season, stuff like that.
Well, I read that she used to, because she was like, for those who don't know what we're talking about, this girl, Marge Schott, used to own the Reds back in the day. And she strikes me, I obviously never met the lady, rest in peace, but she strikes me as like a Cruella DeVille type because they said she would smoke cigarettes everywhere. Even if you couldn't even smoke cigarettes, she just did not care. She would just smoke. And she had this big ass dog, the big Saint Bernard named Shotzi.
Saint Bernard, yeah.
Yeah, we just walk around just shitting offices. They said this guy was like, if you remember that Seinfeld, no, that one Simpsons, when that one dog was promoted to executive vice president, the Frank Grimes one, that's what they did with Shotzi. He was like an executive or something. He would just walk around and do whatever and be in charge. But I don't know. I say it's a wild time. That's a wild time. Some of them stories of the 80s teams, man, just makes me laugh. And them old
there's some doozies, but I can't think of them offhand. But Marge would bring, she'd bring in the Shotzi, I think was the dog's name. And we had to pet the dog for good luck. And Shotzi was a cool dog and didn't bother anybody. Just go around like, it was almost like he was like, damn, gotta go in here. Everybody's got to be petting on me. But it was cool.
You come up to Cleveland. Where do you end up moving when you lived to Cleveland? Like, what was your residence area?
I went to Westlake.
Okay.
Found I can't remember where I rented. I want to say I rented the first year I rented a house, and I want to say it was close to Westlake, if it was not in Westlake. But then my wife and I ended up building a house. I signed a 3-year deal, and my wife really enjoyed Cleveland, so she's like, let's build a house here for the season. I'm like, okay. So we had a nice house in Westlake and missed being there. It was awesome. We were sold out every night. It was quite the experience.
You probably right down the street from where I'm at now in North Olmsted, because when Kyrie Irving used to live here, he lived in Westlake, right? Literally, right? You go this way and take a right on Walter, and then there's a street called Morningstone, something like that, right down there. But that's where Kyrie Irving lived. J.R. Smith lived over there, and those houses were built because I looked up the history of Irving's house, and Daniel Gibson, Boobie Gibson, if you remember him, he used to play for Cavs. He built it in 09, so it might be that same area. And I know the two houses. I don't know. I mean, if you're talking the 90s. This is a long time ago.
This was like a housing development. Just you remember there. I can't think of the highway, but you come off the main highway. There used to be a Kmart there, or Kmart.
Okay, that's 90, I'm sure, and that's gotta be Columbia, I think.
I believe so. That sounds familiar. You take a right, and you go past the Kmart, and then just past that, there's a little gas station. Just past that was the street, and you turn down that street, and that's where I live.
Okay, yeah, you're. I mean, I'm as I'm picturing in my head, you're getting off the freeway, coming from downtown, you're getting off the Columbia, taking probably left off the freeway, probably taking a right in Detroit, and then because there's a bunch of houses over there. Kmart's long gone. Well, I mean, all Kmart's are long gone, but that's cool as well. Good stuff. But yeah, I used to work at. Oh, that's funny. It reminds me. There was years ago. It's probably out by Crocker Park. There's an area called Crocker Park now. It was. I don't know if it was being built or was built by then, but it was right in the process then back when you were there.
Is that like a big shopping area?
Yeah. It's a huge, like a very lifestyle mall, kind of ritzy, yuppie kind of thing.
Yeah, I saw that. Drove past it a few years ago. Cleveland has me come in and do an ambassador thing in September, which is awesome, and I love it. I happened to get out there and drive in the area, and I'm like, man, this looks way different. But I know what you're talking about. I know exactly.
Yeah, every available area in Westlake is built, I think, is pretty much done now. I think everyone's. They might have one or two still out there, like some rich guy owns a bunch of acreage, but it's kind of right there almost. It's okay though. It's funny because you get all the guys from because the nearest Taco Bell, you got to come right past my house. So like, there's no. I've been in line behind Taco Bell behind some famous.
If you got a Taco Bell by the house, bro, you're in business.
Oh, 100%. Well, it was funny. The one time, I swear to God, I was at the Taco Bell, and the girl, when I pulled up to the thing, the girl was freaking out. She's like, Kyrie Irving is? I was like, yeah. She was like, that was his Lamborghini right there. He was in front of me in the line. I'm thinking this guy's getting millions of dollars. He's just going to Taco Bell just like me. That's kind of cool. Yeah, we all like our
loves Taco Bell.
All right, so
I used to love that Red Tail was the golf course just down the street. Is that the name
Yeah,
of it? Red
it
Tail?
sucks that I'm not the golfing, not the golfing knowledge guy. But there's, I know North Olmsted's down that way, and I think Red. I'm not gonna see the line, pretend I know, but there's the Little Mets is where I used to go. Though once or twice I went over there.
Yeah, I think it was called Red Tail, and that place was awesome.
Okay. Oh, you're a golfer then. Okay. I got to get back out there and golf. What I mean, what do you golf? Let me ask you, do you golf regularly still, or is it?
I try to. I play a little bit here and there. Of course, coaching baseball is kind of tough, but every once in a while you get a squeezing around. When I'm in Lake County, Mr. Hanlon invited me out to play, so I appreciate that, and we get around in back at the old stomping grounds, I guess you could say.
Now think back to them when you was in Cleveland. Did you guys go out? You guys going to the flats? What was your? Do you remember? And what were some of your? I mean, we heard the legendary tales of them teams, but what were some of your party spots you went to?
So say that again. I missed it.
Oh, your legendary flats party. Did you go to the flats at all? I mean, we kind of?
Oh, yeah. We'd go down there. I had our clubby had friends that had a boat, and he'd pull up out there in front of shooters with his shooters.
Yes.
Yeah, we'd hang out on the back of the boat and have a couple beers, and people were, there at shooters, and that's about it for me. It wasn't anything wild. I mean,
we were just talking about shooters, me and my friends, about a year ago today in Facebook memories. We were down there.
Yeah, there's some good times. Hey, where do you want to go? Well, let's go to Shooters. Good place.
Yeah, if you're ever in town, if you guys are ever in town, ask Lep in the chat. Anybody, man, go to Shooters, get them walleye nuggets. Those are, I mean, it's a little bit pricey. I'm not gonna lie, it's like $25 for the nuggets, but
walleye nuggets. That sounds wonderful.
Oh God, I could go for some walleye nuggets. I mean, if it wasn't so close to going to sleep time, I would definitely get some nuggets in me because that sounds banger right now, right? My God.
Well, I gotta find. I'm up here in Lansing. I gotta find somewhere that has some good walleye.
What you get back? I mean, back to that. How much of a shame, though, Dave, is it that '90s, that late '90s team didn't win anything? I mean, they won a couple pennants, but they didn't win the whole thing. Do you think if they? I know this is kind of a weird thing to ask you, who was traded for that time, but at the end of the '97 World Series, the Expos had Pedro Martinez. He was They're up for trade, and they were like, "Give us Jerry Wright." They're like, "Nah, we can't do Jerry Wright. He's a World Series hero." And man, if they would have got Pedro, man, it would have been all over. I mean, it would have been add Pedro to that.
Well, I think it certainly would have helped. You could never say it would have been all over because the '98 Yankees team was supposedly the greatest team ever.
Oh man, think of those battles.
Well, yeah, think about some of the teams that you've heard about in history, but they said the '98 Yankees was the best team ever in the history of the game.
That's right. I mean, it's funny. Where would you rank? I mean, you played with a lot of those. I mean, you weren't there with the entirety of it, but you were there for the bulk of it, the Ramirez and the Tomes and all them. What is that line? That lineup's got to be right up there, top 10 of our lifetimes. No, maybe top 5 even. I mean, not in terms of the overall, maybe just a power and the overallness, right? I mean, it was just the top.
Well, it was a juggernaut. I mean, you had Lofton leading off. You got Alomar hitting or Visco hitting second, Alomar hitting third, and then you hit Manny fourth. You hit Tomey fifth or Tomey fourth. Blah blah blah. There's just like a row of one of them can hit a home run, but he's going to get on base. That's Robbie. But then you got Tomey, Manny, and Gonzalez, Justice, somebody else following them.
Man,
Richie Sesson, come and get your ass. What are you going to do?
Dude, that you just got my brain thinking that man. I can't talk. Manny Ramirez in 1999. What a year! My God, what a year! I mean, just pure. There's pure. I mean, we was talking about Griffey earlier being a great pure hair, but man, that 99 Manny Ramirez season. How
many RBIs do you have?
Yeah, 160 something, 165, something like that, Mike.
It's like average, isn't it?
Yeah, like one a day, almost one a game, something like that. Man, you just man, how you got win that?
He was real good.
Oh, you guys gotta go back in time and win that title, man. Imagine how different. Imagine how different. Everybody out there, there's some Cleveland boys in the chat. imagine how different this city is today if that in the late '90s Indians team wins a couple World Series. My goodness.
They were knocking on the door a couple years ago.
I remember that. It was funny because I went all out for the Cavs title. Like that was the first title ever, first title of my lifetime. So I got a bottle of Crown, case of beer, a quarter ounce of weed, got a rented a place downtown, right at the Stofers, right there in Tower City. But went to saw the game right at the casino. I was buying beers 12 at a time. I felt like Homer. That one episode of Homer when he was working with the mayor, and the mayor walks out. I had 3 beers in the back pocket, 3 beers in this pocket, 2 in here, boom, boom, boom. Man, we had lived it up, and I had one of the top 5 nights of my life, if not top 3 even. And then I saw that 15, that 16. We're playing the Cubs. Get that rain delay. I'm hungover from that before. I can see. You can feel it in the air. You can feel it. You just feel
Once
it.
that grand slam, I was like, man, they're gonna win it, and damn.
Man, and that Trevor Bauer mess. That's when the curse almost felt like it was born again. Right? And it's hard to believe it's coming up on 10 years already. 10 years since that World Series was there.
Yeah. Well, they got a decent club this year, don't they?
They do. They got a. I mean, it's that whole curse of the way baseball's set up, and it's like how. And now it's like even if you're a cheap owner, so to speak, and you're trying not to be cheap, it can't really compete with the spending of these, the New Yorks and LAs.
Right.
Like, go ahead.
I don't know. I feel that if you put the right pieces of the puzzle together and the clubhouse atmosphere, any given Sunday, everybody's gonna win.
Left says our pitching sucks. I would say our pitching is kind of gassed. I would definitely say Class A is probably being a little bit overused. Right now. I don't want to say overused, but like the relievers. This is a good question to ask you because you're a pitcher. When you're a reliever, if you're doing that throw away guys like Mariano Rivera, the 1 in a million guys. If you're a standard baseball career, you're out there, you're a reliever. Is there, only so many years you could do that because you're just the sporadicness of it. You really don't. I'm just trying to run through my head. Yeah, but
you're just like a closer.
Yeah. Like if you're a closer or whatever, can you only do that for like a peak of a couple of years typically, and then you just flame out because your arm's overused? Or how does that work generally for most guys?
I think you can do it for a long time because most closers are just inning guys. Back in the day, they had the old school 3 innings, 2 innings, but back to towards the middle of my career, I guess you'd say they become 1 inning guys, and you're only throwing an inning. Next night you throw an inning. If you do that 4 or 5 nights in a row, you'd be a little tough, but that's not how the game works. You're lucky to get 2 or 3 save opportunities in a week. But in my opinion, that's not wear and tear. You can do that for a long time. And most guys that get the numbers that they have that are greats, that's how they do it. They stay healthy. They take care of their bodies, their arms, and they put up the saves every year. Next thing you know, there's 300 saves, and they're in the Hall of Fame.
Now, you're a pitching coach. Now, do you, when these guys are coming up, you got mostly the high A, so what's that, like 19, 20, something like that? Maybe some of the
there's not a whole lot of 19-year-olds, but I have one, and then there's most of the guys I'd say average 22, 23 years old.
Okay, now when you're teaching these pitchers, do you just teach everybody the same, or is there like?
Well, no, every pitcher's different, and how they throw the ball, what they're good at, what they're not good at. One guy might have a really good slider, one might, you're trying to develop each kid differently. So, no, there's no cookie cutting in pitching.
Now, basically, are you teaching? Is there like a style of teaching to like a closer, to a middle reliever, to a starter, or do you teach everybody just basically go out there and we'll figure out where you go as your career progresses? How does that kind of thing work?
Well, most kids in the minor leagues, whether they're going to be a closer or what have you, or if you're a prospect, you're probably going to start. And then as you approach to get into the big league time, they might say, well, we're going to make you a closer, or we're going to make you an 8th inning guy. They already kind of have a plan, but they want to get the development there by starting.
Okay.
So when they start in the minor leagues, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a starter when they get to the big leagues.
Oh, okay. So I never thought about that. So say you got, your roster. Do they tell you? I mean, you're not. Are you as a pitching coach? Are you guys playing to develop? I mean, you're still playing to win. Obviously, you want to win, but is development more over competitiveness? What's happening there?
Well, isn't winning development?
That's true. Very true. Very
Yeah,
true.
but your focus is making these guys into big leaguers. Absolutely, and winning is part of the process, in my opinion. Now, do you give up one for the other? Well, no. I say you got to develop the kid. That's what's important. But at the same time, you got to teach him how to win.
Okay.
See,
Very true.
it's kind of an iffy area, but what's more important? And the development's more important. But when the kid gets to the big leagues, you want him to know how to win and how to help the team win Major League Baseball games. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, winning is definitely. I mean, it has a positive. I mean, like you get. That's a very good point because if you have, like, say you got somebody you want to get some time out there. If they're out there just throwing innings and there's no purpose, that's not winning. That's not development. You know.
Well, if they're out there just throwing, then they're not getting developed. If they're out there learning how to pitch, and that's what they're doing. It looks like they're just throwing, but okay, after the game or the next day, you're talking to the pitcher. This is what you could have done. This is where we need to improve. Then you go work on it in the bullpen, and that's how it works. You just keep trying to make them better. You try to keep working them, and next thing you know, they're going to the next level, and they learn something over at the next level, and next thing you know, they're on TV.
I have a question from Blake. Who is the best hitter you have pitched against, in your opinion?
The best hitter ever pitched against?
Yeah.
Easy, Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn. I got a Gwynn jersey. I should have brought it out for this. That's great. I love Gwynn, right? What a pinpoint accuracy, right?
Yeah, Tony. If you pitch him away, he'd hit it away. If you pitch him in, he'd pull it. So I was just like, hell with it, throw it down the middle, get it over with. Sometimes you put him out.
Right, if he hits it to the second base, you're good to go. It's great. It's great.
He hit it hard somewhere, that's for sure. That kid, or man, I should say, could hit.
All right. So after you retire, immediately after you retire and before you start getting into coaching, what were you doing the last? Were you just chilling, relaxing? What was your post career first couple years doing out there?
Well, I love to fish. I love to golf. So I spent a little bit of time doing that. Then I started getting bored because I like to be active and golfing every day and yada, yada, yada. So my kids were starting to get to the point where they're in little league. And of course I was getting asked to help coach. So I started helping coach, and I liked it, but I was like, I couldn't, my personality couldn't come out because you got to bite your tongue all the time. You can't say, hey, listen here, you little bastard, something like that. You can't, you're like, hey, so I told my wife, hey, I'm having fun, but it's hard for me to bite my tongue all the time. I want to get back into the game. And took me a couple years. I didn't send out a resume or anything. I just thought by word of mouth it would work, and it was starting to get frustrating when people say, "Oh yeah, you'd be great. We'd love to have you," and then you don't hear anything. Sent out a resume and got a job.
I get that so much, and I don't know why it dies on the vine like this, but like I'll ask somebody, hey man, you want to do the show? And they're like, yeah, I'll do it. And then you get to that point, and they're like, all right, can you do it this time? Or what's your availability? That question, for some reason, it just dies on the vine. I've had like 40, 50 people. It's random guys, here or there. It just, I don't know why. They're not like, hey, I changed my mind, I can't do it. They just don't respond. Just sits there. It's like, okay, I guess that's part of the business. It's weird, man. Makes me laugh.
So it was fun to do the show. I was trying to get it fit in. My wife was here, and I had to get her to the airport. And of course, I got to throw a burger. I got to make her get something to eat for her. And then I got an hour and a half drive to the airport, hour and a half drive back. So the 5:30 thing wouldn't have worked. I'm glad it worked out to where we could talk now. And
yes, sir. So you got the
cheers.
Yes, sir. Cheer, hell yeah. Cheers to everybody out there too, out there in the beautiful Chile and all my lovely viewers out there. All right, so is coaching out there in the minor leagues is fun as it looks in the movies? I mean, is it you're sitting out there? I mean, it's kind of feels like a retirement. I mean, it is in a way, if we're being real, but like it's kind of like a cool retirement home for. And I'm not calling you old to retire. I mean, we are old. It is what it is, but you know,
I think of it as you like being a parent, or you're a parent.
Oh yeah. I got 14,
So,
15, 20 something.
yeah.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of knuckleheads I'm taking care of. That's how it is. Okay. We have fun. You have different personalities. You have to treat them all differently, but you develop a relationship with these kids, and you're a family. So that's how I like to look at it. I have 16 kids. Let me say I have 30 because of the whole baseball team. You got to have fun with all of them, and you got to babysit at the same time, make sure they're not slacking and not doing what they're not supposed to be doing, which is really hard to do now with all the social media and all that stuff. So just make sure they're making the right decisions and working hard is basically my job, and having a good time and teaching them how to be a professional baseball player.
Yeah. All right, now you're 6'4". And a couple of these other pitchers I talked to, Jim Kern was 6'5". Really tall guys, right? Like even taller. I mean, Randy Johnson's huge. Like, is height? I mean, there's some pitchers out there that are shorter, but like, I mean, height's got to be a huge advantage in your pitching, right? I mean, you're out there. How tall is the average of your bullpen there? Would you say?
We used to think height and everything was the advantage. But now they're starting to talk about these guys that throw the ball uphill.
Okay.
They have a low release point and the ball carries, and they have a high spin rate, and it goes uphill. Doesn't look like it, but it does. And the hitters have a hard time hitting it. And it used to be the taller you are, the higher you try to throw it with more steepness. It makes it harder to hit. So is one better than the other? I don't know, but it seems to me when you look out on that mound, there's always a pretty tall guy out there. Seems to be that's what we're looking for. I don't know. There's Pedro Martinez is one of the greatest pitchers. Greg Maddux, he wasn't the tallest guy. Glavine. There's a lot of great pitchers that weren't necessarily tall guys, but they had great arms and talent. Billy Wagner threw the ball 100. What was he, 6'1"?
Yeah.
Right.
Who was the shortest pitcher you ever worked or played with, and who's the tallest? Tallest got to be Randy Johnson, I'm assuming. And who is?
Well, yeah, Randy was definitely the tallest. The shortest, I can't answer that. I'll just throw out a name and say Jeff Brantley, but he wasn't that short. Just having fun because I just heard his name. He's the Reds game's on in the background, so I thought I'd just throw it out there.
No Dustin Pedroia types to stick out. Okay.
Yeah, I don't. The shortest pitcher, maybe Rincon.
Okay.
He wasn't the tallest guy.
Well, it's funny because this girl I went to high school with, she's Bobby. Because there was this guy, his name was Earl Boykins. He went to high school with us. He was that class, and he was like the second shortest player ever to play in the NBA. He was only like 5'5", so always sticks out. Reminds me of that. That's funny. All right, what is the? Have you ever? You got some random questions here. We'll close it out. Have you ever messed around with the spitball and just out there? And what do you think would happen if they allowed the spitball like back in the day?
The spitball. Well, apparently not a lot of people watch Dave Burba pitch. I had a hard enough time throwing strikes. I'm not going to go around with spitting on it and trying to throw it. I'm having fun with that, but yeah, I couldn't just cheat like that. I don't know. I just wouldn't feel right about it. If I got a scuffed baseball back, hell yeah, I used it. But never, scrape the baseball or try to do something to it. If I got a scuffed baseball back, well, sorry, I'm going to make it move a little better. But I wouldn't even know how to use I guess it's something you got to practice and learn.
The old Joe Negro. What's in your pockets? No, there's nothing. He just throws them.
Right. Believe me, if it had kept me in the big years another 5, 6 years, I'd have come up with something.
Well, speaking of staying around for a long time with stuff like that, let's go to knuckleball. Why is it about the knuckleball that like only like 4 people of all time can master? And like, did you ever experiment with that? And why couldn't I mean?
I had a good knuckleball. The whole issue with it is throwing it for a strike and throwing it hard enough to where it can keep hitters off balance. But it's just hard to throw for a strike. It's hard to control. If you have a really good knuckleball that knuckles, how in the hell are you going to get it to go in the zone? It's tough, and that's why the guys that do it figure out a way, and they can pitch forever because you're throwing 70 mile an hour. You're not putting a lot of stress on your arm, but boy, I wish I could still do it. I'm a 59-year-old knuckleballer. I'd still be doing it.
Right. That's when I first remember when we first moved back to Cleveland in '87. My dad, we lived in Chicago when he was little because he worked out there, and I remember, and I'll never forget because like the '87 Indians were absolutely horrid, but I was really into that team. To this day, it's probably the most team I remember from that lineup. And they had Steve Carlton and Phil Negro on that team back last season of their careers. I mean, these guys were just on the back nine to anybody signs into a contract they were playing. But I always remember, I was like, Phil Negro is 48, and I'm 48 now. So there's still a hope for me to go out there and throw knuckleballs. If I ever get off my ass.
You can do it. Figure it out. Do it left-handed. Think about a left-handed knuckleball.
Right? My left arm's never been used. My right arm shot the shit. I've got a brand new arm right here.
Yeah, get her done.
I got a question from Blake. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of baseball? I'll double back on that. I'll say I'll do who's your batter one and who's your pitcher Mount Rushmore, would you say?
Well, I'm going to have Pete in there for sure.
Okay.
Babe, you got to have the Babe. You got to have Barry Bonds. I'm throwing King Griffey in there.
Nice. That's a solid 4 right there.
And of course, Hank Aaron.
Okay. I dig it. I would probably put on definitely Babe, Ted Williams. It's hard for me. I mean, because it's weird because like I got this model in my head of somebody like. Because I mean, when I was a kid, I used to read baseball books all the time.
Willie Mays, you can't leave him out, but that's tough, isn't it?
Hey, and it's like we form these opinions of guys like Mays, guys like Mantle, guys like Ted Williams, and I haven't seen one bat of these guys play live. They stopped playing. Ted Williams stopped playing 12 years before I was born, I think. So 15 years before I was born, maybe even longer than that. You know what I mean? So I had no idea how the guy plays, but he's right up there in my opinion. So, I mean, it's weird how we think like that too, right? It's like people are always like, oh, Will Chamberlain.
Well, you go with the people you know. I mean, Stan Musial, unbelievable, you know?
Right?
I didn't see him play. I know Mickey was great. And, Joe DiMaggio, all those guys were great, but I didn't see him play. I'm going with the guys that I know.
Oh, yeah. All right, Blake says, who's better in your opinion, Clemens or Maddox?
Oh, hands down, Maddox.
Maddox is great. This pinpoint control.
Yeah.
I would agree too. What it's phenomenal. Oh my goodness. I remember he was one of the first when I first started playing fantasy. I don't play fantasy baseball too much.
I don't mean that in disrespect. Roger was a great pitcher too, but Maddox was special.
Yes, sir. He wants to know about Albert Bell. He says he was the real deal. Dude looked scary when I was a kid.
I didn't play with Albert. I just know he was a hell of a hitter. I had to pitch against him, and it wasn't an easy at bat.
Yes, sir. I've got a couple silly questions, and we'll close it out. All right, what kind of dishwashing detergent do you use?
Shit, I can't think of it. You squirt it in the little dishwasher apparatus. That's what I use. Cascade. Colgate.
Okay. Cascade.
No, that's toothpaste.
I think Cascade's a dishwashing detergent. I think Crest is a toothpaste. That could be.
Yeah. Colgate's a toothpaste.
Colgate's a toothpaste. Okay, I got you. How long can you sit in the library and do nothing before you start falling asleep?
How long do I sit in the library and do nothing?
How long could you sit in the library, just not a chair in the library, and do absolutely nothing before you fall asleep?
I'll give it 15 minutes.
Okay, I would say it's about right. For me, it's probably about 5 or 10. It's so hard. It's a lot harder than people think it is.
Well, it depends who's in the library. What are you looking at? You're looking at a book or you're looking at something else? You know what I'm saying?
That's very true. Very true. And what is the favorite airline you've ever been on, and do you have a least favorite airline?
I used to really despise Southwest because of their hoarding and the herding thing, but they give you free luggage, so I sort of like them now. But I've always had a good experience with Delta.
Okay, Delta's not bad. When was the last time you were at the zoo?
Every time I go to my house.
Right, welcome to the Wild Wild West, baby. We got the
Hey, you never know what happens in the Bubba house. It's been a while. I think about 10 years. I went to the Phoenix Zoo and we saw the zoo lights at Christmas time.
Okay, you live down in Arizona now?
Yeah, I'm in Gilbert. I've been there for 30 plus years.
Okay, I was down in Tempe. No, not Tempe. It was right outside of Tempe. Back in 06 and 07, there's a place called Red Rocks Condominiums. It was on McDowell. It was like there was a golf course right across the street there. It might have been Red Rocks Golf Course, but it was like right on, because the Papago Park was the A's would play spring training. It was right.
Yeah, you're talking about Papago Golf Course.
Yeah, right across the street from there. So you know exactly where I stood. Okay, yeah, right across the street, literally across the street. That's awesome. Yeah. How cool is that?
The Giants spring train right in that area now.
Oh, it's Giants now? Okay, when I was there, it was the A's.
Right. They're in Mason now where the old Cubs are.
Okay. Yeah, that was a party town, man. That was because that was right down by Arizona State. We would go right down there Mill Avenue and just that's great. Love it.
100% right there. Good time.
Yes, sir. All right, have you ever been in a Ferrari? What about a Lamborghini? And do you have a favorite car?
Never been in a Ferrari I've sat in one, but I've never driven one. My favorite car is a 69 Z28.
Nice. I'm not really a car guy. I got a Kia. No. It is what it is.
It's a muscle car. It's an old school car. It's just, that was my favorite car growing up, and I still love it.
Oh, yeah. All right, who are the three most famous people you think you've met in your entire life, would you say?
Well, I've met a couple presidents. I don't know. That's a weird question. That's a tough one. I've met some movie stars. I don't know if they're the most important people. But I would say the president would be an important person.
Okay.
And Larry the Cable Guy.
Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah, Larry. He's important because that's a funny mother.
Yeah, motherfucker. I know what you're talking about. It was funny because there was a period of time. It was right around the time when Texas Hold'em was big, I think. Right around 06, 07. But man, every third word we were just, they get her down and talking about the jokes. You ever clean it in the shower and it just goes off? This still makes me laugh. Every time I'm in the shower.
He came to our locker room in Milwaukee and did a little 10-minute gig for us and took BP with us. And I laughed my ass off for a good half an hour, I'll tell you that.
That's great, man. That's great.
Well, I'm gonna hit it here. I got to get up and get on a bus early in the morning.
All right. Anything else to promote, and how do people get a hold of you?
I'll be Lake County. I don't have an Instagram, any of that stuff. I'm not gonna give my phone number out.
No, 100%. Yeah. So tomorrow, if you're going out to Lake County, go say hi to Dave.
Yeah, come up, say hello. I'm a very approachable person. I don't bite.
If you're coming into Cleveland Airport tomorrow, wave hi. I'm right by the airport, so I'm right out there. Before we go, wait, one more question: Beatles or Queen? Who would you pick out of those two guys? Those two bands?
Queen.
All right, perfect. We'd like to thank Mr. Dave Burba for joining us. Have a fun time on your flight, brother. Be sure to come in Friday. We're gonna have Joe Grahe is gonna be on the show. It's gonna be a fun time. Take it easy, Dave.
My friend.
All right, yes, sir. I will see you guys.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. All right.